All right, well, welcome everybody to GenGMs.
Yay!
It is the GenGMs GenCon, the GenCon
Yeah,
GMs edition.
the
Gen
Gen GMs con.
Con edition,
Yeah.
2025. That's Zach in
Yes.
person right here.
I don't have to question which way to
Yeah,
point
exactly, because it's right in
anymore.
this spot.
And that is
Um, and
Greg.
that's me. Yeah, like no,
Oh,
up
that's
there.
Greg.
Yeah. So we're
Yeah.
we're in person. We have recorded an in person before at my place,
Yeah.
but we have not had a chance to record at your place, although. There may be a chance before you
Someday.
know it. Okay.
Yes.
And also, this is the first time we've ever had a chance to do this at a convention environment
Yeah. Yeah.
because we're at Gen Con. Now,
Mhm.
I am part of the Writers Symposium at Gen Con. This is
Yeah.
like my 17th Gen Con or something,
Gosh.
some ungodly number. But this is your first.
Yeah.
So, like, I know we talked a little bit about this off air, but
Mm.
like, quick summary. What do you think is awesome or not awesome? Like, what did you feel
Yeah.
about this?
I should have started coming to this a long time ago. I'll soon be like you, and I'll be saying this is my 17th Gen Con. Because I see every experience and every reason for coming here, and none for not. It was an amazing experience from the stuff at the vendor halls, meeting artists for Fantasy and Magic the Gathering, and all the events, the panels, the writer symposium was an awesome breath of fresh air for me, and especially a way to like kind of guide me through the con experience. I didn't go to any writer symposium stuff today, and I went to most of it in my first couple
It was
days.
mostly done by
Um,
today anyway.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so getting to do a bit of like self-development essentially at this con is really great. In addition to all the fun elements, not that
Hmm.
self-development isn't
Hmm.
fun. In fact, all the self-development I did was actually very fun and fulfilling. But yeah, no, it's an amazing experience. I think the writer symposium, just to say too, awesome addition that I want to see get even bigger and more people involved, because honestly, there's so many people at the con that I think would benefit and would enjoy these panels here. But then the events, the shows, getting to meet people that you've met before or not in person, and yeah, no, it's an absolutely amazing experience. And when they describe it as the 4 best days in gaming, I think I can see that
Yeah.
now.
That's all. I'm really glad because
Yeah.
I just thought like this seems like tailor made,
Hmm.
for what you'd like to do. We also got a chance on Friday. Zach's part of my voice team on my Twitch channel called The Air
Yeah.
Vocalist, and so we got a chance to not only meet everybody in person, and I had met everybody individually,
Hmm.
but this is the first time we could get everybody together in a group and take some group shots. And that was like, it wasn't long. It was like a half hour, maybe, or 45 minutes, but it was really a blast. Like I
Yeah.
really had a good,
A lot of fun.
warm feeling about it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And KP is very great with the camera and great directing everyone. And I'm excited to see how the photos turn out.
Me
And
too.
we'll be able to edit them and remove background and just put them into graphics and all sorts of stuff.
Action sequences,
Action
yeah, no, it's
sequences.
gonna be great.
We took all sorts of great ones.
It was
So
really cool, and
yeah.
it's one of the things I love about Gen Con the most, I think, is I thought about this last night. The Writer Symposium, and by the way, for those who don't know, the Writer Symposium is a separate but allied event that happens at Gen Con. We're recording this in one of the symposium rooms in the downtown Marriott, which is connected to the convention center. But we had the sort of symposium get together last night, Saturday night at the Kurt Vonnegut Museum,
Mm.
and that was like it was really cool. Like you're
Wow.
in the Vonnegut Museum and you're like talking to all these people who I've known for many years, many of them, and new people that I had not met but got to know,
Mhm.
and I got to hang out with a lot of dear friends of mine. Yeah, I'm really glad
Yeah.
that you enjoyed it because I know it was a lot. This is why we didn't record this
Yeah.
yesterday because someone might have been a little
Yeah,
tired.
gosh. Yeah, I
Um,
was telling him that the as a Californian though, the jet lag of it all,
it's real, yeah.
of flying out here and then consistently having late nights and early mornings, but specifically early mornings as a Californian, meaning I'm getting up at 5 a.m. or my
That's right.
equivalent of 5
This
a.m.
is 9:30 for you, right? Right now,
Um,
roughly 9:26 or
don't tell
whatever.
me that. But yes. So, but no, yeah, yeah. It's that's the thing with the cons. It's the other thing too that I didn't even mention when I was talking about that is that the con in general, especially the vendor floor and like the main areas, are a very intense experience that may not be, you're just walking through a big crowd, but you're walking through that big crowd and constantly being in not a crowd crush, but just kind of like around that many people. It's very congested
A
because there's
lot
a
of
lot of people, a
stimulus
lot of stuff.
too, with all the stuff, the
Yes, a
sounds,
lot
the
of
lights.
sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it can be very, very easily overstimulating. So you got to just ride the wave,
Yep.
let yourself rest when you need to rest,
Yep.
and know that this too shall pass
Yes.
into greater things. I'm feeling great today,
That's
honestly.
awesome.
Yesterday, not so much.
I told him too, and then we'll get in our questions. But I told him that one of my secret. I'm now revealing the secret. But that one of my favorite days actually is the Sunday, because we usually don't leave my family, and I don't leave usually till Monday.
Mhm.
And one of my favorite days is kind of the Sunday, because you get to play the games you bought, process what you had. Everything's chill. You're not. I'm not running to another panel or another event or another whatever.
Mhm.
So like, yeah, you do need to pace yourself for
Yeah.
sure. But anyway, but I'm glad you were able to do this. And we thought, obviously, that it made sense for us to do a live recording of this. So
Yeah.
we should also mention that as we move through the summer and get into the fall, we are going to be doing more regular recordings and postings. It's not easy because we're both busy and we're doing all this stuff, but we both love doing the show, big fans of each other. So we want to be able to do more of this. And so we will be doing that more consistently. But the best thing you folks can do is spread the word and let people know,
Yeah.
and get over to our YouTube channel. And thank you for watching us.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm going to start by asking you a question,
Great.
because I think it's related to what we discussed before.
Mhm.
So you had a chance to watch multiple actual play sessions or one-shots this
Right.
weekend. You saw there was a Purple Worm one, there was Tales of the Stinking Dragon,
Mhm.
and there was my Grayshade,
Right.
the event that Brandon O'Brien was doing. So
Mhm.
you had at least those three, right? Were the
I
ones that you saw?
think there may
Okay,
have been one more, but I'll
maybe.
remember it at a
That's cool.
inopportune time.
What I wanted to ask you was, you had multiple DMs that you were watching, and
Yes.
multiple ones that have to think not just about the people that they're playing with,
Mhm.
but thinking about an audience, and in this case, an in-person audience. So
Mhm.
what I wanted to ask you was, given the constraints of time, trying to limit how much people are having a good time with each other, because it's awesome, but if they just keep talking, then no one ever finishes and we run out of time.
Yes.
So thinking about time, thinking about how to interact and involve the audience.
Mhm.
I'm curious what tips you might have picked up
Oh yeah.
from people here about how to do that better, worse, maybe parallel move, like that's
Mhm.
good, but maybe not for this sort of setup, like that you could bring back to, actual plays that we do online, maybe, but also like your games that you run and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think one game that I got to watch a very small part of was actually REM DMing as well,
Oh yeah,
for
yeah,
Shadowrun
yeah,
with B. Dave Walters,
yeah.
and other castmates that I didn't know. But yeah, I saw a small part of that, and I still feel like there was maybe one other that I don't remember because it's been a long weekend. But yeah, so one thing that immediately comes to mind, I think, yeah, watching Grayshade, watching Tales from the Stinky Dragon, and then also the Purple Worm Faster Kill Kill, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
Very specific naming from
Yeah.
Beetle and Grimm's there. But yeah, there's lots of, so Purple Worm and the Stinky Dragon show, the live shows, had different levels of audience interaction. That's kind of the main thing I'm thinking about is, of course, a professional GM who's, mostly done a lot of private client work, especially local work and stuff
Mhm.
like that, but then also GM'd very rarely publicly. But when I do, it's for, on our vocalist, which was really fun. We should do that again.
Absolutely.
Or Critical Role. And starting to think about next year, what I would really love to do, at least for myself, is, be on a panel, but either generally in GenCon or talk about, I know I'm not a part of the Writer Symposium, but a lot of the stuff that you
We'll see.
guys, yeah, I would love to add to that. And then, running a game somehow or taking part in one. So, biggest tip that I noticed is, so Stinky Dragon and Purple Worm had two different kinds of audience interaction. And so in the Purple Worm show, the GM or whoever organized everything had a thing where at certain points the GM was like, okay, there's a trap that you step on and it has the effect of changing your voice. Let's roll on the table of voices. And then a little thing would appear on the screen of a D4 of like your voice changes into Cockney accent, Texas accent, or Arnold Schwarzenegger. And they had an audience member come up and roll a D4
Mhm.
to choose which voice changed, and then
That's
that
cool.
cast member's voice changed. So they had multiple things like that where it was like at a certain moment, someone comes up, they do a roll, and something happens. Stinky Dragon, on the other hand, the GM there, who I do not remember the name of right now, but he was absolutely amazing. So we'll add it in post or something. But um, he did a thing where anytime he needed a sound effect, he would go to the audience and ask them for it. And it was surprising, but also kind of not surprising to see how easily, as an audience, we knew what to do as far as the sound effect. So the GM would be like, "Okay, the you all come to Babbling Brook, which sounds like," and we all would just be like, "Shh,"
Yeah.
and he would just keep going. And so there must have been maybe like 30 or 40 different sound effects through the whole one shot that the audience did. And it was a great little, like, kept you engaged.
I did some of that at the climb, but I need to do
Yeah.
more of it. I'm thinking based on what you
Yeah.
just said.
It was really great.
Yeah.
And then he also had whenever a player gained inspiration, which he did pretty liberally when it was he designed a lot of inside jokes into his one shot, and if the player recognized it, then he gave them inspiration. And the inspiration that they did was they had a big inflatable D20. See, we've thought of these
Yeah.
ideas.
See.
They had a big inflatable D20, and they let an audience member come up and roll it. I think it was even the same one that we used. I don't know when we tried this, but it's the one that
Probably
you
2 years ago.
bought at your house,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was, it had trouble staying inflated.
Yeah.
But they had an audience member come and roll it, and that was great. At the Purple Worm show, there was this whole thing where there was this audience member in the front named Jess who kind of became like a center fold of the one shot because she rolled really well and was amazing. So yeah, as far as audience interaction and running something live, both of those shows, and I'm going to get to Grayshade in a moment too, because there are certain things that I actually really enjoyed about Grayshade. But Purple Worm and the Sneaky Dragon show were very, very, very comedic. Like super lighthearted, comedic, silly, jokey, and it does tend. I think it works with a live audience. I mean, you also this weekend I didn't go to it, but the Critical Role live show I don't imagine was all jokes all the time. I think they were playing actually a very grim, dark kind of setting for their one shot that they did. But
Yeah, the Age of Umbra, or were they
I
still
think
doing
so.
stuff in? So
I
that
think
was
I think it was a Daggerheart Umbra one
Yeah.
shot or something. But I don't imagine that was as comedic as the two other shows.
Wow.
But
saying a lot because Critical Role gets pretty comedic.
they do,
Yeah.
but I don't think it was a through line in the one shot. In Tales from the Sneaky Dragon, it was like an art of the design of the game.
Yeah.
And then Beetle and Grimm's Purple Worm thing just kind of became comedic by provenance of who they cast.
Yeah.
And then but yeah, I would say the comedic element, I think, is for a con setting, people are tired, people have been on the con floor all the time. So adding a bit of comedy and
Totally.
and lightheartedness probably helps a bit. Grayshade stood out to me in its differences between those. Brandon, I think, did rather well as a GM, as having to take, first of all, the Grayshade RPG that is coming out, by the way, made by or in honor of and connection to the Grayshade Gray Assassin trilogy.
Oh, whoops.
This man.
Oh,
No, please. Yeah, hide me behind it. Has written Brandon O'Brien, the GM and designer of the Grayshade. Oh, look at that. Yeah.
That's the brochure with the RPG.
Amazing. Oh, that's who I still need. That. Thank you for reminding me. One of the only places you just kind of lose track of stuff. I still need to visit Alligator Alley.
Oh, yes, Studio
at
2.
the vendor
Yeah.
hall. But the Grayshade game, Brandon had to, crunch down at what's supposed to be a 3-session campaign into one roughly 3-hour
Yeah.
session. And so that's a difficult thing to do. But you guys, it's funny how you guys we still had very comedic moments at times, actually. But getting a picture and a experience within the or within Grayshade and within, what is the name of the world again? Or the
Corel is the city.
Corel is the city. Getting to see Corel and like the intrigue and the politics and the assassin through lines of it all. It reminded me a lot of anyone who plays Magic the Gathering and is familiar with Ravnica. There is a guild called the Orzhov, which is described as a combination of church and bank. and
Oh
there
yeah.
was a lot of
Yeah,
that
the
kind of
treasury
theme.
of
Yeah,
Otsala
if
is
you're a
the big
fan, if
thing
you're a fan
about
of the
that.
Orzhov Syndicate in Ravnica, you will love that aspect
Yeah.
of the Grey Assassin trilogy. But Brandon didn't have too much audience interaction other than some audience interaction that came up because the lights kept turning off.
God.
That
Which
was really funny.
did we I found out about the reason for that, by the way.
Yeah,
One of the low the one of, did you tell me, or was it
I didn't tell you, but I think I
I
also
think
found out.
it was my one of my mods for my Twitch channel, and a friend of mine said that it was that they were like turning the lights on and off in another room when they were cleaning it.
Yeah,
And like they were like trying to go out, and I was like, no wonder they kept turning off,
yeah.
because it would turn off, we'd turn it back on, and then
And
the
then,
person in the other room must
yeah,
have been
this is what's going
like
on?
turn it off again.
And then cut to us, no, on. Now,
Oh
what I don't
man, it was
understand is why the lighting for all these separate little conference rooms is all linked together.
but I think the walls can be taken down to make one massive, enormous room.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
These walls?
Yeah,
No way.
I think so. Not here where we are, but over there, like in that
Oh,
other side. I think
oh,
so.
right. So the walls. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That
because if
makes a
you
lot of
look, they
sense.
have this sort of folding
Right,
like
right,
quality. I
right.
think that's why.
Okay.
But still, it was
Interesting.
like
Yeah. So that was the audience interaction. The me and Hilnis had to keep getting up to turn the lights back
it's
on
just not
with before
not what
until
you
we
want.
eventually understood that it was because there was literally another person in the room next to us who was trying to turn them off. But
Yep,
anyway,
it's appropriate for Grayshade, right?
that all to say, um, yes, for as far as like tips and observations of running a live game in front of a live audience, um, I it's really enjoyable as an audience member because I know playing in front of a live audience is different for you guys as the players. And so it enlivens you. It's kind of there when you there's funny moments and things. And I also too like one of your other the other members of your crew was pointing out that like she would be looking to our reactions for certain things that were happening. And so no, it was just a great time overall. But as far as like observations and things that I'm taking away for myself, and maybe things if you are a GM out there, which you probably are watching this show, I would say when you're running for a live audience, the comedic tone goes a long way. If you're going to get them involved, a really easy way to do that is with these with sound effects and things like
Hmm.
that. And again, the GM for Tales from the Sneaky Dragon, that one shot, which wasn't Gus, who's their usual GM, but I don't remember his name at the moment. He went to us for every sound with no like forewarning. He was just like, okay, I need a creak, I need the sound of rain, and his axe sounded like, and we all just figured it out. And it was really great. So the sounds, things like that, is a great way to get people involved. But I think the biggest thing is just coming here, playing in front of a live audience. It's like theater, but it's improvised. It's really such a great pleasure. And the thing that I did enjoy over with Grayshade over the other two that I saw was seeing a system that wasn't just D&D. That was, the Grayshade game is sort of 5e based, but the extra mechanics that are specific and also the ability to play classes that aren't specifically designed for combat, like the merchant,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
really, really cool. The effects that Brandon has designed for that game and the points that you get to use certain abilities are really cool. Like the noble class has the ability to just get a 20 on a charisma check because of their noble
By
status.
spending a noble credit
Yes.
to do it, and then they
Yeah.
get those credits back on a long rest. So there's 5e mechanics a little bit, but it's a
Yes.
whole different thing. We didn't get into the faith mechanic and all this other stuff.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
So that made me honestly really excied for Grayshade
yeah.
as a
Oh,
game.
I'm glad.
Um,
He did such a good job.
Yeah, yeah. So that was good. Those were generally my observations. I think what I would be keeping in mind for myself if I ever find myself in the position of running a game is trying to get the audience there. That what other time are you going to have people who are devoting their full attention to watching your game?
Yeah.
So might as well find ways to get them involved. I mean, I did have the honor though that Brandon did not bring his dice; he forgot them, and so
You
I
brought your dice
I
up, I
brought my
know.
dice up, and Brandon used my dice
And we
to.
were rolling not well.
Yeah, yeah,
I used the dice that was given to me, which still is one of my greatest like I don't know how you describe it, fan things or like inspirational things that were,
Hmm.
and it's this set of like dice that were, I wonder if I have it in here, that are basically made of a kind of glass. I do. That are made of a kind of glass, like sort of smashed glass, and it was inspired by
Wow.
these things. You can actually see the glass inside of it, and he made them. And it was inspired by watching an Eberron campaign where we're in this sort of weird, the party's in this weird area,
Oh,
and there's all this
was
broken
that
down
Brandon? I think that was
grass and
Brandon.
stuff like that.
Just passed by.
Oh, Brandon just passed by.
Yeah.
So like, but anyways, very, very cool. But these did not roll. Like I kept being like three,
Yeah.
five, three. Now I rolled a 17. That's great. But like, I was not rolling well with these. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, that became sort of a funny little joke. But it didn't derail because Brandon also has designed it so that you are really kind of failing forward in terms of how
Yeah.
things set. So anyway,
Yep. Yeah. So I'd say that was about it.
okay,
I of all the shows, I think the one that made me excited to game the most was Grayshade.
okay,
Learning that new system and finding more, because even if you don't play Grayshade or you don't play D&D, or if you're playing Pathfinder or something, I at least always like to look at other tabletop games and be like,
same,
ooh, this idea, I'm gonna steal that,
same,
and
same.
so and ideas mechanically, but also as far as setting. So I was really inspired. That's the other thing too, is the Gray Shades setting was the most intriguing and the most developed, I felt.
Thank you.
And the that was the other thing too, is that because the purple worm thing and the stinky dragon thing were much more comedic, much more straightforward, it wasn't super immersive in the same way of like feeling like you're in a city,
Yeah.
that Grayshade was. So it's different tokens. I feel like there's obviously ways to run more serious games versus other ones, but yeah. But the one that I had the most fun at was the Stinky Dragon one.
Totally. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. I'd never watched them before, so it was a pleasant surprise to be like, "Wow, this is really, really good."
That's cool.
And I,
That's
I'm,
cool.
I'm a new fan of them.
That's cool.
After actually two of the guys on the Stinky Dragon are the two castmates that I ran for at Critical Role. So
Oh, really?
yeah, so Blaine
Oh.
and Chris were a part of the one shot that I did at Critical Role, and
Okay.
that's also partly why
Did they act
we went.
similarly to the way like in this one they did in Critical
That's the
Role?
other thing I realized, is that I almost felt, I want to say I felt bad, but that's not exactly how I'd phrase it. But watching the Stinky Dragon show here at GenCon and seeing Chris and Blaine in their natural environment, or their actual home game environment, versus how I DM them, unfortunately not really knowing anything about them as players. If I had seen what I saw this weekend first, I would have changed my GMing style for them.
Really?
Yeah, because they are so funny. They are so funny, and they really, really prosper in a very comedic
Oh,
D&D environment.
interesting.
And the Humblewood one shot had comedic moments. And admittedly, I was handed a module that I had to run, so I could only change so much.
Right.
But I would have leaned harder into, if I did not see their talents, and so now knowing them, I would have changed
Interesting.
what I would have highlighted.
Interesting.
So that was my experience. I don't know if you got to see any actual plays at all
I did
this
not.
weekend. Yeah.
No, I mean the one drawback. I mean, I love the symposium, but the one drawback is I did get a good chance to spend. Well, actually, no, I take that back. I didn't get to watch an actual play, but I did get to do a couple of things with family members, and I played No Thank You Evil, which is
Okay.
Monty Cook's system for sort of younger kids based on the Cipher system, which is the same one that they use for the Numenera game and a whole bunch of other things. And I had never played in that Cipher system. I got to play it with my son, and I had a really good time in that, even though it was not, it was, it was a group of 5 people in the GM, whatever. But it was interesting to me watching them work, this GM working through, knew the system really well,
Yep.
really did a good job in sort of engaging everybody, not letting anybody dominate. And it was also basically 4 adults. 3 of us were, the GM was also a parent. So I guess 6 people and 4 of us were parents, basically, right? And there was one guy who was an adult, but the only one who was actually the target age for the game. We were playing it because we were like, I wonder if this would be good for our kids, and I was doing it because I wanted to play with my son.
Yeah.
But the only one who was actually the target age of it was my son. Was my son that who's 9 years old.
Yeah.
And he had a blast. He really had a good time with it. But what I liked about it was, as we were doing this, the GM was doing a great job balancing everything out. And they said afterwards, they're like, you, me, really really added a lot of great flavor and you were really funny. And the GM was like, yeah, and sometimes you hear, I get worried about playing like GMing for a GM because they don't want the GM to be like, this is how I would do things, which
Yeah.
is really obnoxious and I would never have done that.
Yeah.
But she said it was great because I could really, like, I really got the flavor of it. And
Mm.
to me, it was great just to be able to sit back, watch another GM do their thing. I felt the same way when you were GMing for us with our vocalists
Yeah.
on the Twitch channel. And to be able to, because I know how the sausage is made,
Hmm.
because I've been GMing for almost 40 years, I watching other people and see how they do it
Yeah.
and taking techniques from them that I'm like, oh, I definitely want to try that,
Hmm.
is really a pleasure to watch. So I didn't get to play in an actual play game, but or sorry, to watch an actual play game, but I got to play in one
Hmm.
that was really good, and that was also 2 hours, nice and neat, was not rushed. They got it done. It was this exploration of the ship. It was very funny in tone because of the design of it. Like,
Mm.
no one gets killed. Like, they just sort of get knocked out if they
Yeah.
do and all that stuff. But it was really interesting to watch it. And that too, that GM was a little bit nervous because they were like, they had not, they asked me, they're like, I know you've done lots of panels afterwards. They're like, I'm going to be running a panel tomorrow. And like, do you have any advice? And I was like, I would never have guessed that because this person was relatively young,
Yeah.
but is a young parent, has a kid,
Hmm.
and was like, did not total confidence with the system,
Hmm.
but was still like, I'm not sure. So it makes me think about how nervous people are or aren't
Yeah.
running live events like this,
Hmm.
even if it's on a small scale, like what I'm talking about. So yeah, I didn't get to watch any actual plays, but I really enjoyed playing in that one.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Time for my question.
Yeah.
So, you got to play in your own world as part of the Grayshade. It was such an amazing time watching that. Um, and so, yeah, you got to play in your own world as part of the Grayshade one shot that happened here, being DM'd by Brandon. So, there also, too, I don't know if Hilness showed you the picture that he took and then
I've seen it on
superimposed
Discord. I had a
of,
hood that I got at a Ren fair last year, and
yeah.
like yeah, it does
Ba-
kind of look like it.
Yes, basically a side by side of Greg with the hood on, and then the main character from Grayshade being shown, and they were, the likeness was very on point.
Yeah.
So how was that experience for you? Because was this the first time, first of all, I guess my question, that you've played in your own world,
Yes.
or even I guess I'm not sure if you've even GM'd in Corel or in this universe at all.
Nope.
So yeah, this was a kind of a first formative experience of being able to experience your own world from one of your novels. I also will relate this to kind of my questions having to do with your own world and like experience of it. You talked recently about how one of your previous books was adapted a while ago into
The
Neverwinter.
third sign. Yep.
Right. The third sign was adapted into Neverwinter into a module.
Yeah.
And so I suppose my question is, how was the experience this weekend of getting to play in your own worlds, having it be embodied by another person? And I could tell that a little bit too, even watching you, and like your character introduction was first, I think, and immediately how you role played your character and the like one liners you had, I was like, oh man, and getting to see you as a player, which is very rare as well. I'm one of the things I've always complimented you about is your dialogue in it when you're actually playing D&D sounds like you wrote it a while ago. You're like the things that you come up with when you're playing NPCs. So seeing you as a player have that level of dialogue was amazing. Where it's like you just came right out the gate with
Oh,
these
thanks, man.
one-liners that were like, hell yeah, we're in Corel right now. That's great.
Thanks.
Anyway, so how was that experience for you? And then also getting to see other players in your world, like it must be very fulfilling.
Ugh.
Did it, does it jazz you up to try to GM in Corel yourself or to run Grayshade yourself? And I guess just in general too, as a last part of this, maybe this leads us into a general conversation of how GenCon has gone for both of us, and
Yeah.
anything that you've been doing this for what, 17 years, you said,
I think so.
and there must be little level up experience points that you're getting from each con. And so my follow up to all of this, probably having to do a little bit with Grayshade, is what has Gen Con this year left you with, and kind of where is it leading you in the future?
That's good. Yeah, there's a lot there. On the Grayshade front, yeah, I mean, that was super special. When the third sign thing was done and I was playing in that module many years ago, it was definitely like wild. Like it was a lot of fun to do it and to sort of imagine that my world had inspired someone enough that they would then translate it into this other medium. And I've always thought when you see people like cover famous songs or whatever, you know you've got a good song when excellent covers can be done also.
Yeah.
You know, and there's just so much that can be mined from that music. And so getting a chance to do it myself, where I was doing it in the computer front, was really, really cool. But this is sort of on another level, and the reason is because I've invested so much of my kind of creative time into the building of fantasy worlds and novels and short stories and all that, and it's kind of that's my wheelhouse, right? But obviously, the other portion of my creative personality is as a game master and someone who writes adventures in this space, and it's extremely special to watch people run through adventures like play adventures that I've created. I had this experience GMing you and Carlos and Claire and Adam in Hearthglow, and getting to see them do through adventures. Like that's awesome. But having it be a world that I conceived in a certain way
Yeah.
with a certain figure, right, who's important within it, and then the what it's based on. And you got to remember, I mean, like Grayshade for me really started as a kind of project all the way back in like 2011, as I started thinking about it in
That's actually a
various
lot more
forms.
recent than I would thought.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of played around. It'd be cool to do something, but I didn't really think about it more until more like 2010, 2011. And so like, uh, I've been with it for a long time. Obviously not straight. I've been doing other things, you know, in the meantime.
Yeah.
But I've been with it so long that getting an opportunity then to see other people play in that world, right? Like opening up the amusement park for the first time is awesome. And for me personally as a player, I felt a lot of pressure because
Oh.
I knew in taking it, I had thought at first that I was going to avoid the acolyte, which is the class that has the hood and looks kind of like this
Yeah.
person. I thought I was going to avoid them altogether because for a long time I avoided making it seem like this was me for a variety of reasons. I didn't want people to think that this was some like self-insert. To be clear, the artist, Peter Tikos, who's awesome, is Eastern European, and I've never met him face to face, and he wasn't modeling it on me, at least so he claims. But everyone else is like, you know, oh, that was clearly based on you. I don't want to make self-portraits of me and put them in a book. Like, I was afraid of being seen that way. But over time, what I've come to realize is there is definitely more of me in Grayshade than I was willing to admit. Which doesn't mean that I'm the same person. Like, in a lot of ways, we have a lot of differences too. But of course, do I admire his strength? Do I admire his ability to be resilient, to persevere, to recognize error, to try to make corrections, all the things that happen in the book, of course. So when I was doing it as a player, then I was very much like, I've got to nail the landing. Like if I come out and I'm just like, oh, you know, or something, if I say something and people are just like, that's not an acolyte, you know, like I'm screwing up my own character. And the expectation that people were going to be like, you wrote this, shouldn't you be the most awesome player of all time? You know, doing it. So I felt a lot of pressure. But I very easily, and this is Brandon's doing as the GM, we all sort of settled into it, I think, very nicely. And it was really wonderful to watch all of these people clearly grokking the characters that they were doing. You know,
Yeah.
like Toya, who plays with us in Expedition of the Mysterious Peaks, Toya immediately got a sense of what the informant was.
Yeah.
And like what kind of a shadowy information broker would be. Jen, who I play with in the Eberron game, I DM for, Jen immediately had this sense of a merchant who's trying to kind of kiss up to the nobles, but doesn't want, you know, but understands different aspects of what she's good at. Richard, and I've known Richard for many, many years, and Richard's a really good prose pro type of writer. Richard immediately understood what the informant was, sorry, the investigator was, and was very like, I'm the cop. I'm here,
Yeah.
stand down, crow's eye business, right? Was very good on that stuff. And then lastly, Karen, who I've played with for many years as well here at GenCon, understanding the noble. And like at one point, there's this really funny moment where she like is writing this note to the family member about someone who's been killed. The adventure is called Death of a Noble, spoiler. And then wrapped it up and literally role plays it, just like hands it to me as like, here, boy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I completely ignore it. She's like, so she like drops the note, like not realizing I'm not going to pick
That
it
was
up.
funny.
I loved that because it showed that people were really invested in the characters, and every one of them to a person said, could we play more of this afterwards? Every one of them. And that was really special to me because it meant they really understood the characters. So it was a real joy to feel like there were other parts of my world being sort of opened up.
Yeah.
As much as it felt like there was pressure, it's even been joy having Brandon design it,
Hmm.
honestly, and like make suggestions about orders that I hadn't thought about,
Yeah.
or about structures of systems that I hadn't considered, and it had an effect on the later books in the series. Like this last book that I wrote, which finished up last year, Heretic, which is the last book in the series, that was a little bit influenced by what Brandon and I were talking about in the design of the Grayshade game. So
Mm.
it was just an absolute joy, and it made me feel good as a creator. And I think a lot of Gen Con, this year's Gen Con for me, has been, if I can get slightly personal for a minute,
Yeah.
a lot of this year's Gen Con for me has been sort of taking stock about where I am in my career and in my life. And not in a maudlin way. I didn't think as I was going through this, like, this is the last time. Like, I didn't think anything like that. I'm 52, hope you're around for a long time. But what I did think was that I had many people this year in the symposium who would say things like, Greg, does what I'm saying, does that sort of click with what you remember?
Mm.
Or about the history of the symposium?
Okay.
Or, Greg, what do you think about, like, do you feel like, does this seem like the right move for us to do?
Mm.
Or like, and then again, in the DMing side, like, am I doing what, does this feel like true to your world? A lot of people asking me for advice and for counsel as someone who has become a veteran of these things.
Yeah.
And that felt very good to me this year. Like that I felt like my career is still building and I'm still growing as a
Hmm.
GM and an author and a person. I hope to continue to do all those things my whole life. But the fact that I could sort of take a moment and see that, like, this book that I imagined privately, I always say in the book that it's a privilege to share a world publicly that I have long imagined privately.
Yeah.
And I really felt that this weekend, both with Gen Con broadly, which you asked me about, and the symposium a little more specifically, and then definitely in Grayshade, having people that I also respect, having you as a GM that I greatly respect. As a friend, I imagine you would have been like, yeah, that was garbage. That's 3 hours of my time I won't get back. Next time, fix your lights. Like I was like, that. I'm trying to feel like you wouldn't do that. But
No.
like, hearing you say that it like jazzes you up to be like, I totally want to check this game out and play
Yeah.
it. That's cool. Like having GMs that I respect say that they really liked it. Having people who have been to a lot of my live events say this was cool because it was different than other stuff that I've seen too.
Yeah.
Like Hillness, our Twitch mod that we know from my Twitch channel, who has been to a bunch of the live events, including our first Klein event.
Hmm.
And he's been to all of the symposium events that are live, as far as I know, all the Gen Con live adventures that I've run. Same thing, like him being like, this was really cool and different.
Hmm.
That was really special to me, and it sort of confirms the creative wellspring that we all possess.
Hmm.
I think you could tell me if I'm wrong, but I think probably individually for players, when we make a homebrew system or a homebrew adventure, you feel a little version of that. But getting to feel that from players
Hmm.
and from an audience
Yeah.
and from,
Yeah.
that's cool. So I had a very good, warm feeling about this Gen Con,
Yeah.
honestly.
I would say too, I didn't realize how recent the Grayshade trilogy really was. I mean, it makes sense though, given that you just finished Heretic
Yep.
recently.
22, 23, 24
Yeah.
were the three books.
Okay. What do you mean?
Grayshade was 22. Well, I mean, this printing,
Oh, I see.
Grayshade 2022, Renegade, the second
Oh,
book,
wow.
which I just
So
happen to
you so
have with
you
me,
you started kind of concepting it,
2023.
right? You started concepting it in 2011, but Grayshade itself wasn't published till 22.
Grayshade, the first version of it was published much earlier because it came out from another publisher.
Okay.
And then that publisher folded, and I
Mm.
ended up getting my rights back, and I ended up sort of stripping
Oh,
off some of the things that they had specifically asked for to fit in their world.
I see.
And then it became in
Your
this
own thing.
edition that like my own, like what I really wanted from it.
Right.
And that was Athos Arts Grayshade from 2022,
Oh, wow.
Renegade, which is this one, which is
Yeah, yeah.
2023, and then Heretic last year,
Yeah.
2024.
Well, I mean, first off, yes, so acknowledging everything that you said with Grayshade, it's inspiring to me as well. And I mean, we're all the attendants here at Gen Con at all at different parts of our lives and careers and everything.
Yeah.
And so being able to watch you play in Grayshade and also watch everything else that's been happening, it's inspiring to me as well. in the sense that I mean, this trilogy is amazing, first of all, and it's kind of your most recent work. It's also very recent just in general. And so to see the success that you're having with this and the development of the game from it and everything, there's this sense, when I'm as young as I am, being 27, I'm super old, 27, of like, I've got to have everything figured out right now. I've got to do everything. All my best work has to be when I'm 28.
Yeah, no.
Everything I produce has got to be amazing. I'm going to get there by 30, And so to see that what like your track record of all, I mean, being, having DM for so long, but also too, like the absolute bangers that you've just put out and will probably be putting out over the next 10 years and the 10 years after that, is really inspiring too, and in a way of like getting me to slow down and to try to be more in the moment,
Yeah.
with stuff. And yeah, I would hopefully to have one day the satisfaction of, like you were saying, being able to, I have all my worlds, that most of which there's this saying that when you have if you have characters that you've designed, or like OCs or original characters and stuff like that, if you don't share them with the world, they will die with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't publish your works, if you don't share them out in the world, or if you don't share them at least with your family or your friends, then it's great. You can enjoy them, of course, your whole life. But then, what about the enjoyment that all of us have gotten, for example, from Star Wars? Would never have happened if George Lucas was just had Star Wars as his little private thing,
That's right.
So to be able to physically see and experience this world that you've created and the themes that it touches on, and is really inspiring for me too, and prompts me to be like, okay, I want to do that. I want to
That's
have
awesome.
my worlds out there.
That's awesome.
Also, too, to your point of feeling like the stakes were pretty high and feeling nervous about performing at Grayshade. That
Yeah.
did not come across at all to me.
Okay, good.
Like, you seemed really confident, and like when you were playing your character and those witty one-liners, you came across as cool, calm, and collected, and in a way that the other characters around you were very interactive. I feel like you actually, that other than maybe in combat, your character as the acolyte was sort of on the back end of interaction
Yes.
in many places, and you
Yes.
were just kind of waiting and biding your time. But in that way, you also provided sort of a thematic through line, and like you almost kind of grounded everything
Oh, that's
in a
cool.
way where it's like you were the thematic core. I mean, and also being who you are and the creator of the world. Um, I feel like that's a spectrum where it's like you could have gone the other way, where it's like, I created this world, let me lead the way to being the perfect example of it. But it was
Right.
a lot more of a humble, quiet, acolyte-like leadership that was really cool.
I appreciate that very much. We're doing it. We're doing a podcast. Are you leaving? That's fine. Are you leaving now?
Yeah, I'm heading out the door.
Hey man,
Okay.
it's good to see you.
Yeah.
And thank you for everything.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to.
No,
No,
you're
that's
good.
totally fine.
It
It was
the live
con-
action part
it
of
was
it.
the live action
Now
part
you know
of it.
we're actually
See?
at GenCon.
Haha. I really appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is right. That I wanted to create a sort of, I think, the thematic through line. That's what I mean. I talk all the time about the importance of theme. I talk about it not just in novels, but also in gameplay. We've spoken on this show about understanding what your world, what the values of your world are, the counter values,
Right.
the people too, who are going to be against maybe the main values that exist. These are not monoliths, all that stuff. But like, the fact that comes through is wonderful, and I think that's a testament also to Brandon's GMing. But I think, and I want to say one note here, maybe we can sort of close on this. I'm curious if you agree. At its base, at its core, one of the things I think I love the most about GMing and DMing is I cannot think of almost anything else that is so in the moment. Like, at its best, it is the experience. And I talked again about this panel. Everyone knows on my channel that watches that when I do this and I just listen is my favorite part
Yeah.
of just everyone else role playing, because they're doing, they've picked up the ball that you've tossed or whatever. They've picked up the baton and they're like, now I'm going to do this stuff. And it means that you've done what you wanted to do. You've created a world that they feel invested in. And at its core, there is nothing more at the moment right now than that. So I'll listen to, like, I'll go back and watch old things and I'll get a smile on my face and be like, this is great because I get to look and see what it was like. But it's the in the moment stuff. And that's the same thing with live stuff. In the moment stuff. Live stuff where you're in the moment with the audience, with your players, with the world around you that comes together so beautifully. And I think role playing in general, tabletop role playing, really taps into that at its core. It is in the moment existence, and I really like that. So I'm glad that came through.
Yeah.
You know, it's inspiring to me.
Yeah.
You were inspired,
Right.
I'm inspired.
Yeah, yeah. And it must be cool too in I mean, you talked a little bit about on one of the panels that you were a panelist on. I don't remember the name of it. It was world building, actually. Where Karen, was that her
Character
name?
creation, I think.
I know,
So it was
but the moderator of that panel.
oh,
what
it
was her name?
it was Aaron. Aaron Evans was that
Oh, yeah.
one, and Catherine Monasterio was the other
Oh
one.
no, I'm thinking of a different one.
Okay.
It was one that I was at where you guys were talking about world building and
World Building for
Tanya DePass
TTRPGs.
was there.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes, yes. That's right.
You've
It
done too
was-
many panels this
Yeah,
weekend.
that's right. It was Karen. Yes, Karen.
Okay,
Menzel.
cool.
Yeah.
She asked a question about the difference between world building for a novel versus for a TTRPG.
Yeah.
And so in that same vein, I'm sure, the process for writing Grayshade and for writing this trilogy, in a way must have been an experience of a lot of solitude, actually. I'm not sure how much you consulted really with other people or to develop your world. And obviously we take inspiration from the world around us.
And after the fact, you get feedback from editors, from beta
Right.
readers. But in the initial conception, no.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it's
just
my own research and work. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a very lonely experience at times. It
Yeah.
can be. But then, as it crossed to that, being able to play in the world of Grayshade, like you said, must have been so amazing to live in the moment and within the world that you've created.
Have you played Assassin's Creed? Any of them? I
Oh
think we've
yeah,
talked about this
yeah,
before.
yeah, several.
Do you know the experience of, I don't remember which games, but it does this a lot, where there's like some kind of a cutscene and then you feel like a city, for example, in Brotherhood, it does this very
Yeah.
well. The city like
Develops, yeah,
like
simulates,
this. Yes. And people populate it. And cities come alive because of their people.
Yep.
They're driven by architecture and geography and topography and a whole bunch of other things, but cities are made alive by their people. Settings are made alive by their people. And so when you get to have people, other humans, populating this thing with a GM, then
yeah.
just
Both
right, and then-
within and without the
yeah,
members.
yeah. Because this is like, I'd like to think that this is vibrant and alive. I tried to make it so, but it's fun to be in the middle of the vibrancy,
Right.
And to feel like you're getting that because these people are around you, and that, yeah, I mean that. So yes, it was a real joy. Last year, I had the good fortune of running a live event in London for people that I do my Buy the Dice Roll Ghosts of Saltmarsh campaign for, but I actually ran Forbidden Library for them, the first part of it last year, and that was an amazing experience. The experience of just being in Glasgow, then being in London, being in Oxford, then being in London, seeing Professor Tolkien's grave, all that stuff, and that London event.
Yeah.
That warmth carried me the entire way through the semester. Like
Yeah.
seriously, I felt so good all the way until January. And it wasn't like I dropped off then, but at that point it started to fade a little bit. But I feel like this is a similar thing where hopefully this, and I'm going to Worldcon next week, but I so much good warmth came out of this that it comes in part from people that I admire and respect and care about telling me that this stuff moved them,
Yeah.
and feeling like I was in the middle of something, that I did it right, that I was like, okay, like I constructed the world properly and now people have invested them in it. That'll keep me going a long time. Like that was really nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's 48 minutes, which means it's about
Yeah.
a good time, I think,
Yeah.
for us to do this.
Yep. It's a pretty short episode compared to normally.
Compared to what we normally
sometimes
do.
we go an hour and a half.
That's right. But what we're going to do now is we are going to stop recording and then we're going to go play games
Yeah.
with friends of ours, because that's what you do.
Yes.
It's going to be good. But
Yes.
thank you, Zach. I appreciate what you said, though.
Of course, yeah, and
and-
thank you, Greg. I also appreciate and what you said, and yeah, as a intro to Gen Con first year, the being able to have you and all the other people that I know here as sort of a way to feel like I'm not
good meeting
alone
your
and
friend,
to
too.
orient
That brought you-
myself,
yeah.
you know, is very good. So
Yeah. And by the way, one last thing, important for everyone out there too. What you said is super important about having your voice be heard. Everyone talks about how we need to hear your voice needs to be in there. A voice has no value if it's silent. And so being able to actually produce work and then get feedback from it and accept, there will be some people who may not respond perfectly and you're going to have to get a thick skin a little bit, but you don't have to be afraid of it. And we need everyone's voice.
Yep.
We need human voices that really think through these things and interact, and they're messy and they're ragged, but that's what makes human experience so enjoyable in its own way. So we need that. So if you've got stories out there and ideas out there and things that you've been thinking about, as part of either writing novels or short stories, or as part of game mastering, take the step that's needed to feel you have the permission to share it.
yes,
And we want you to share it because all of that just broadens the creative feeling for all of us. I like getting to know a little bit about, I know it wasn't much of a world because of the nature of it, but the purple worm or the like Tales of the Stinky Dragon,
right.
like getting elements of those will enrich us, right?
Yes.
In the same way.
100%.
So,
Yeah, very inspiring, both within the world and then also how the world was GM'd and played.
yeah.
It's all very helpful to all of us. It's betterment across the board, whether you just enjoyed a show as an audience member, or for me, I am both in the enjoyment but also like you're talking about, that knowing how to make the sausage, but also eating the sausage, having your cake and eating it too.
Having your cake and eating the sausage cake.
Having your cake and eating the sausage too.
That totally makes sense on a Sunday, all right? But anyway, thanks, Zach. I appreciate
Yes,
it. This was good
thank
times. Spread the word, people. Let people know. I would love to see. We're coming up into the fall, and we definitely have plans for things.
We do.
And one thing in particular, we're not going to talk about it now, just to know, if you think, oh, cons are cool, just be aware. There are things that
Yes.
exist later. Possibly.
Yeah.
But thanks everyone for watching us. Please subscribe. Let everyone know to subscribe. Spread the word, and yeah, come to GenCon and other cons if you get a chance.
Yes. 100% recommend.
Yeah.
It's worth the trouble and the jet lag.
Yeah, and people should be with people too. So if you can,
Yep.
So
Okay.
thanks, Zach.
Yep. This was Greg.
That's Zach, and bye everyone.
See ya.